How we doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily, and on today's show we're going to be talking about last night's game, and Ange Postecoglou has called out the weak and spineless institution that is Tottenham Hotspur.
How you doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily. That's right.
So it's Wednesday morning and there's only one thing we're really going to be talking about, and that was the big game last night. Spurs against Manchester City, and it was a 2-0 win for Manchester City. And listen, I've had 12 hours or so to reflect on it and digest it and look over it and everything else, and there's so much to take from that game. And, you know, there was a lot of talk before it about the Spurs fans, how they were going to be and everything else. And when I was watching that game, and the first 45 minutes in particular, it was like watching a game during the COVID seasons when there was no fans inside the stadium. Even the Man City fans were absolutely anonymous. No noise at all. You could literally hear the players talking and instructions being given out. It was genuinely like a COVID game. So as a home side, normally use your home support as a way of pushing yourself and everything else. There was none of that going to happen because they weren't getting anything from the home fans. And I was watching the game and I thought to myself, okay, Spurs look like they're giving it a bit of a go. I'll give them credit for that, bar a few players, and I'll get into it in a moment. Højbjerg, first and foremost, nearly gave Man City, a gift, shall we say, and Phil Foden nearly scored. It was a brilliant save by Vicario. But I was watching this guy in the first half and I was thinking to myself, how on earth do Spurs fans put up with him every week? Oh my God, what an absolute bang average footballer. Seriously, if that's what you have to put up with every week, my word, no wonder you're angry all the time. Some players that I feel can hold their head up after the 90 minutes was probably the goalkeeper. There was the guy that played at centre-back, the new signing. I can't even pronounce how his name is. And probably Kulusevski when he came on. Who I thought was dangerous. I thought that some of Tottenham's passing in the final third was absolutely pathetic. There were times that they were 2v1, they had breaks, they were getting through, and the final pass was just crap. Maddison, although I think he worked hard, he just had no quality. There was nothing from him. It was very anonymous. Heung-min Son, absolutely dreadful. He's gone backwards. He's regressed massively. And the miss in the 87th minute when you're through one-on-one. I would rather Son got an opportunity that was instinctive. And I'll explain what I mean here. When Son went through, it was one of those opportunities where he had a lot of time to think. And he's going down to the keeper. Does he go to the keeper's right? Does he go to the keeper's left? The keeper was already moving his way down. You slide it round him. But also in his thought process, was he thinking to himself about everything that's going on? The whole situation, the circumstances. Was it going through his mind, if I score this, will they hate me? Now, I've heard a lot of people within the football itself say that away from football and everything, Heung-min Son is one of the nicest people you could probably meet. And I don't doubt that at all. But was that playing on his mind when he was going through? Was he thinking to himself, if I score this, I'm going to be like the villain? Like, it's a fair question to ask, and that's why I say, was that an opportunity that we didn't need, in the sense of we needed an instinctive one where it comes across, you have no time to think, you're just relying on your natural instincts as a footballer and finishing it, rather than one where you've got so much time to just think about a million things and then you get caught in the middle. That's what I mean by that one. Romero. This is a guy that apparently runs through brick walls but then can't win a 50-50 with Phil Foden. You're telling me he didn't pull out of that tackle on purpose? What an absolute pussy. And then you got Porro conceding a penalty and laughing. This is the same man that posted a social media post, as all players do before games. But yet on this one, it had a half Spurs badge and a half Man City one. Strange that. So yeah, I think there were players there that didn't really care about the situation and the rivalry, the tribalism and everything else. And they wanted Champions League football. And there was some that kind of just felt like, yeah, I don't really want to upset the fan base or anything. And listen, Postecoglou came out after the game in his press conference, and he made it very clear that in the last 48 hours or so, he's realised that the foundations of Tottenham are weak. Well done, mate. You've actually realised what everybody else has for a very long time. That Spurs, as a football club, from the top to its fan base and everything else, is a weak, spineless, feeble institution. They are built on failure. Spurs fans have cried for so long to get a manager that's a winner, to get a manager that actually wants to instill that mentality within them. And the moment he wants to do that, you lot desert him. Let's be real. There's a video emerged last night as well from behind the dugout of Postecoglou having a go at a Spurs fan. And apparently this guy was constantly saying to him all night about throw the game, throw the game, throw the game. And in the end, Ange just had enough. And listen, maybe it's the Australian mentality, okay? Because they don't want to lose. You only have to look at cricket, for example, when the Aussies are involved in that and how much they want to win. Like, the guy's a winner at the end of the day. He's the Tottenham manager, but I've got time for him because he says the right things. And the Tottenham fans and whatever, listen, nothing. These people want to bring up a hypothetical video of me from 2019 where we were in the Europa League final and Spurs were in the Champions League final. And the hypothetical question was asked, if you could lose the Europa League final and Spurs don't win the Champions League final, would you take it? And I said, yeah, all day long. All day long. It's a hypothetical question. It physically can't happen unless you've got a magic wand. And Spurs winning the Champions League before us. No. Just no. It can't happen. Like, all the years of everything we've done would be gone. The Invincibles and winning the league at White Hart Lane, if they won that before us, are you mad? But the reality is, like I said, it was hypothetical. When we went into that game in the Europa League, it had no bearing on the Spurs game in the Champions League final. Every Arsenal fan in Baku and at home and everything else was cheering Arsenal on, was wanting us to win. There wasn't a single Arsenal fan that was sitting there going, lose this game because then Tottenham will lose the Champions League final. No, that was never happening, was it, you prats? Never going to happen. Very simple reality. We wanted to win, and it's a completely different comparable to this, where Spurs fans actually wanted their team to lose because it had an actual bearing on the other. Do you see what I'm saying here? What we did in the Europa League final had absolutely no bearing on what Spurs did in the Champions League final. So we never wanted us to lose. I didn't want us to lose because it's a hypothetical question. It physically cannot happen. But Spurs fans, you wanted your team to lose. Now, I've not been in that situation with Arsenal where Spurs are fighting for a title. Like, in all my years of living, I've never had it. I've got some Spurs fans trying to message me saying, oh, what about 16, 17 and all the rest? What are you going on about? You went in a title race. You finished 7 points behind Chelsea. Leicester, you're talking about being in the title race and you finished third. Shut up, man. Seriously, what kind of nonsense is that? So I'm really glad that Postecoglou has called out Spurs for what they are. I genuinely believe that he will probably leave Spurs because he will have a fallout with Daniel Levy. There will be a lot of discussions about certain players, individuals and everything. There's already loads of Spurs fans that are like up in arms about what he said and they want him gone. You know, who are you going to get next? Graham Potter. Come on, man. It's the best thing that's happened to you in years. You've actually got a manager that's got a mentality that actually wants to win. Like, this is a man that actually wants the club to achieve things. And you lot are moaning. You fucking dickheads. That's how stupid you lot are. Fucking hell. Seriously, you lot are so thick. And, yeah, listen, back to the game, I suppose. But, yeah, Kulusevski had a big chance as well. And it was a big save. But, yeah, like I said, there were some players that I felt give it a go. And there were some players that I felt didn't. And then I watch at the end of the game the way that some players react. And listen, at the end of the day, the objective for Spurs at the start of the season, all right, Postecoglou will say this, and he has said it multiple times, that if you don't win a trophy, it is a failure. But the one thing that they would have looked at and said, okay, if we're not winning a trophy, we get Champions League football. And what that will do will, you know, bring in the better quality of player because you're attracting them with the Champions League football. You've got the stadium and all these kind of things that weigh in your favour from getting Champions League football. And then you look at some of those players at the end of the game and the way that they were laughing and joking with Pep in particular and Haaland, sorry. You'll sit there and go, Romero's one, Porro, even Heung-min Son, where he's just smiling and shaking hands with Pep. So I do think that there were some Spurs players that went out there with that mentality. They weren't really bothered. And I feel that Postecoglou will look back over this performance, dissect it, think about it, and he will probably identify players there that he feel were a part of the problem in the same way the fan base were. And he will try and get rid of them. And this is where I feel that he will clash with Daniel Levy. And this is where ultimately he'll probably walk. That's what I feel. So, listen, we go into the final week of the season, last games and everything. Man City are top. Arsenal need a miracle from West Ham. The one thing I will say is that West Ham, in terms of their attack, they will be better than Spurs with the likes of Bowen, Paqueta, Kudus, etc. But defensively, West Ham are a mess. Yeah, they're a mess. So it's not going to happen. But listen, it is what it is at the end of the day. We certainly haven't bottled it. We've taken Man City to the wire. Look at the relief on their faces when that full-time whistle went last night, or even when Haaland scored the second goal in injury time. We pushed them all the way. All the way. And all we can do is learn from it, and we will come back stronger. And we won't make the same mistakes next season. I'm pretty confident of that. And it will be between Arsenal and Man City again, in my opinion. So, listen, there we go. That is it for today's DT's Daily. As usual, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button, smash a like on this video, and I will see you a lot soon. I'm out of here.